the tiny survivor in the wreckage. The night sky was calm, filled with stars. Birds slept in the trees, and the wind moved slowly through the forest. But then, without warning, a loud sound shook the earth. A fireball tore through the sky and crashed deep into the jungle with a deafening boom. Trees burned. Animals ran in fear. Smoke rose high into the air. In the middle of the wreckage, something moved. Under broken metal and wires, a small hand pushed through the rubble. It was not human. It was thin, with 3 long fingers and soft blue skin. A tiny alien girl, no more than 2 feet tall, crawled out from under a piece of her shattered ship. Her name was Tika. She was weak, bruised, and afraid. Her big purple eyes scanned the burning area. Pieces of the starship lay scattered, and the bodies of her crewmates did not move. She coughed, covering her mouth as smoke filled the air. Her legs hurt. Her head throbbed. But she knew one thing. She had to hide. Tika ran toward a thick bush, dragging her small body through the dirt. Her heart raced. Her people had always warned her, if you crash on Earth, the humans will find you, and they will eat you. She had heard stories of Earth, a dangerous planet. Hot, wild, and full of beasts. And humans? They were giant monsters with sharp teeth and empty hearts. To them, alien girls like her were just meat. Tika curled into a ball under the leaves, trembling. Not far away, Jack Miller, a 32-year-old ex-soldier and survivalist, was hiking through the jungle. He lived off the grid in a wooden cabin he built with his own hands. He knew every bird call, every plant, and every sound the forest made. But tonight, he heard something new. That explosion. That crash. He grabbed his flashlight and ran toward the smoke. When Jack reached the wreck, he stopped. His eyes widened. A spaceship? Real? It looked like something out of a movie. Flames danced across the metal and broken panels sparked with alien energy. He didn't see any survivors, just twisted metal and melted steel. Then he heard it. A tiny whimper. He slowly moved toward the sound. Behind a thick bush, he saw something move. At first, he thought it was an animal. But when he parted the branches, he froze. There, crouched on the ground, was a miniature alien girl. Her body was small and fragile. Her skin was soft and blue, glowing faintly. Her eyes locked with his. Big, wet, terrified. She screamed. Jack raised his hands. Hey, easy, I'm not gonna hurt you." But Tika couldn't understand him. Her mind screamed, "He's going to eat me." She tried to crawl away, but her leg gave out. She fell hard, wincing in pain. Jack stepped closer. Carefully, slowly, his voice was calm. "You're hurt. It's okay, I just want to help." Tika shook her head, backing up, her tiny claws digging into the dirt. Her heart pounded. He was so big, his voice was so loud. His teeth looked sharp in the flashlight glow. She was sure this was the end. But then, he took off his jacket. He knelt down, placed it on the ground, and backed away. Tika blinked. He wasn't attacking. He wasn't grabbing her. He just waited. Cold wind brushed her skin. The heat from the wreckage faded. She was freezing. Slowly, painfully, she dragged herself forward and touched the jacket. It was warm, soft, smelled strange, but not bad. Jack smiled. "That's it. You're safe now." She didn't know what he was saying, but his tone was gentle. Suddenly her head spun. Her body gave up. She collapsed into the jacket, too tired to move, too scared to fight. Her eyes closed. Darkness took her. Jack rushed forward, catching her tiny body before it hit the ground. She was so light, like holding a kitten. He looked at her injuries, nothing fatal, but she needed help. He wrapped her in the jacket, stood up, and started walking back toward his cabin. "I don't know who you are," he whispered, "but you're not dying out here. Not on my watch." Behind him, the wreckage burned. Sparks flew into the sky. Somewhere above, satellites blinked. Somewhere far away, something else was watching. But for now, in the quiet forest of Earth, a human carried a tiny alien girl in his arms, and she had no idea that the monster she feared had just saved her life. Not food, but shelter. Tika didn't wake up in a prison. She didn't wake up on a metal table, strapped down and screaming. She woke up on something soft, something warm. There was a crackling sound nearby. Light flickered across the wooden walls. She slowly opened her eyes. A fire burned gently in a stone fireplace. The air smelled of wood smoke and strange herbs. She was lying on a brown couch covered in a thick blanket. Her leg was bandaged, her arm was cleaned. And, most shocking of all, she was alive. Tika sat up with a start, her small body trembling. Her heart raced. This wasn't a cage. It was a cabin, a wooden home, filled with human things, shelves, books, tools. And there, sitting across from her in a chair, was the human. He wasn't watching her. He was asleep. His head leaned back, snoring softly. A half-empty mug sat near his hand. His clothes were dusty, his boots muddy. He looked tired. Tika's eyes darted around. The door was closed. Her communicator was gone. Her claws curled into fists. She could jump, attack, run. Then she noticed something strange. On the table beside her was a bowl of soup. Steam still rose from it. Next to it, a spoon. And a drawing, a childlike sketch on paper. It was of her, small and glowing with big eyes. The human had drawn her. Below the picture, in careful English, were the words, "You are safe. Please eat." Tika stared at it. Her stomach growled. No, it was a trick, a trap. He wanted her to eat something so he could laugh, so he could capture her. Still, she picked up the spoon. She sniffed it. No poison smell, no acid, just vegetables, broth, something called potato. She looked at the human. Again, he hadn't moved, so she took one tiny bite. Warm, soft, comforting. Another bite. Her body relaxed slightly, but her mind still screamed, "Don't trust him. He'll eat you when you sleep." Just then, the human stirred. Tika froze. He yawned, rubbed his face, and turned to her. "You're awake." His voice was quiet, calm, not loud like before. Tika hissed softly, holding the spoon like a weapon, but Jack didn't flinch. He raised his hands and slowly reached into his jacket. He pulled out a small device, her translator chip. He gently placed it on the table and slid it to her. She grabbed it fast, eyes narrowing. He gave a tired smile. "Thought you might need that." Tika quickly pressed the chip behind her ear. There was a soft click. The human's next words buzzed, then shifted. "Can you understand me now?" Tika's mouth fell open. "Yes," she whispered. He gave a soft laugh. "Good. That makes things easier." Tika stared at him. Her voice shook. "Why didn't you eat me?" Jack raised an eyebrow. "Eat you?" She nodded slowly. "That's what humans do, to small aliens. That's what we were taught." Jack looked stunned. No, that's not what I do." She looked away. "You could have left me there, or taken my tech, but you saved me." Jack shrugged. "You were hurt. I don't care where you're from. If you're bleeding in my forest, I'm going to help." Tika's mind spun. Her training told her this couldn't be real, but her body believed it. Her wounds were wrapped, her belly was full, and she was still breathing. The human stood up and walked to the fireplace. "I'm Jack, by the way," he said. "Jack Miller, I live here off-grid." He turned back. "What's your name?" Tika hesitated. She looked at him. This giant, hairy, warm creature who hadn't killed her, hadn't locked her up, and hadn't demanded anything in return. "Tika," she said finally. "My name is Tika." Jack smiled. "Tika. All right then. Glad you're okay." She didn't respond. Her thoughts were too loud. Her heart too unsure. But when he turned back to the fire, she watched him, not with fear this time, but with curiosity. What kind of human risked everything to save something like her? What kind of human didn't see her as prey? She pulled the blanket tighter around her small frame, eyes never leaving him. And for the first time in her short life, Tika wasn't afraid to fall asleep next to a human. The first real conversation. The morning sunlight slipped through the wooden blinds, casting long stripes across the floor of Jack's cabin. Birds chirped outside, and the smell of something cooking filled the air. For a moment, Tika forgot she was on a death world. She blinked awake slowly, wrapped in a soft blanket that wasn't hers, lying on a couch that wasn't built for her size. Her legs dangled off the edge like a doll's. Her wounds no longer burned. Her stomach didn't growl. It was quiet. Then the strange sound came again, a soft hum and a clattering spoon. She sat up quickly, ears twitching. Jack stood at the stove, humming some old earth tune. He stirred something in a pot, then turned, and saw her awake. "Morning," he said casually. "I wasn't sure if you ate breakfast." Tika narrowed her eyes. "You didn't lock the door while I slept." Jack shrugged. "Why would I? You're not afraid I'll run away?" Jack gave a tired smile. "Run where? Into the wild? You barely made it here alive." Tika didn't answer. He had a point. He walked over and handed her a small bowl. "It's just porridge, nothing fancy, no poison, I promise." She took it, stared at it, then took one slow bite. Warm, sweet, safe. Jack sat across from her, sipping his own cup. They sat in silence for a while. Then, quietly, she spoke. "You knew I was an alien. I had a feeling. And you still helped me." "Of course." Tika looked down. "Back home we were told that humans hurt creatures smaller than them, that you're violent, greedy, predators." Jack leaned back in his chair. "Not all of us are good, I won't lie. Some humans are exactly what you described, but not all." Tika's fingers curled around the bald eyes. "Why are you different?" Jack didn't answer right away. He looked out the window. A breeze passed through the open cabin door. "I fought in a war," he said finally. "I've seen people hurt others for no reason. I left all that behind. I came here to be alone, to stop fighting." Tika tilted her head. "So, you're a warrior." Jack laughed softly. "Was. Now I just fix roofs and make soup." She set the bowl down, still unsure. "You could have taken my tech, sold it. I had a plasma chip in my belt." He smiled. "It's in the drawer next to the kitchen knives. You can take it if you want. I didn't touch anything." Tika blinked. "That's stupid." He raised an eyebrow. "Maybe, but I've got everything I need here." "You helped me for nothing?" "No," Jack said, meeting her eyes. "I helped you because I knew you needed help. That's all." That simple answer knocked the wind from her lungs. In her world, help always came. With a price, favors were traded. Survival was cold math. Tika slid down from the couch and walked across the wooden floor with careful steps. She stood near the table and reached out, one small clawed hand extended. Jack looked at her surprised. Then he reached out too, gently shaking her hand. "I'm Tika of the Kirellan science vessel," she said formally. "Medical assistant, 3rd rank." "Jack Miller," he replied. "Forest guy. No rank." She gave a tiny smile. Her first. The silence returned, but it wasn't uncomfortable now. It felt like two strangers beginning to understand each other. Suddenly, the communicator in the corner of the cabin sparked. Tika turned sharply. That's Kirellan tech." Jack stood. "I've been fixing it. I know a little wiring. Thought you'd want to call your people." Tika's smile faded. Her people. Would they even come? Would they believe her story? Would they believe that a human saved her? She walked over, slowly, and picked it up. The screen flickered. It was working. Barely. Jack stepped back, giving her space. "I'll let you talk. I'll be outside." As he walked out the door, Tika stared at the machine. Her heart was heavy. She had survived. She had been saved. But something deep inside told her this wasn't the end of her story. It was only the beginning. And somehow, the human was now part of it. The hunter from the skies. The calm didn't last. 2 days after the crash, the sky above the forest began to growl again. But this time, it wasn't fire falling from the stars. It was something far more dangerous. Tika was outside, sitting near the cabin's porch steps, watching birds fly in circles overhead. Jack was chopping wood nearby, his axe thudding into the stump with every swing. The morning sun made the forest peaceful, almost gentle. Then, Tika's ears twitched, a low hum, faint, but growing louder. She stood slowly. Her eyes narrowed as a strange shadow passed over the trees. Jack noticed it too. He looked up. That doesn't sound like a plane. A silver shape sliced through the clouds above them, gliding, silently, sleek, sharp, deadly. Tika's blood ran cold. That's a Kirellan hunter drone, she whispered. But they never come alone. As if in answer, a second ship followed, then a third. Jack dropped the axe. Friend of yours? No, Tika said firmly. They're not here to rescue me, they're here to erase evidence. Jack's face hardened. You mean, you? Tika nodded, her voice trembling. I was on a science vessel, not a warship. But if the Empire thinks I've been captured by humans, they'll assume I've been corrupted. They'll destroy me, to protect the species. Before Jack could reply, a loud thump landed behind the cabin. The trees shook. Something heavy had landed. Jack grabbed his old rifle from the porch and pulled Tika behind him. Stay low. From the shadows of the trees, a figure stepped forward. It wasn't human. It was tall, armored in black plating, and its helmet glowed red. It carried a spear that buzzed with plasma, and its voice came out cold and mechanical. Life form. Detected. Kirellan survivor. Surrender now. Tika peeked from behind Jack. That's a hunter. Model CRX-19. They don't feel pain. They don't talk twice. Jack didn't wait for it to speak again. He fired. The bullet hit the creature in the shoulder, but it didn't drop. It stumbled back slightly, then growled and charged. Inside. Now, Jack yelled. Tika ran toward the cabin while Jack held his ground. The hunter swung its plasma spear, and Jack ducked just in time, the energy singing his hair. He grabbed a burning stick from the fire pit and jammed it into the hunter's visor. Sparks flew. The creature screamed and fell back. Jack didn't wait. He slammed the door shut and barricaded it with a beam of wood. Tika stood inside, shaking. You fought it for me, she said in disbelief. Jack checked his bleeding arm. Of course I did. What did you think I was going to do? Hand you over? Tika swallowed hard. They won't stop. That was just one. Jack looked around. How long until more come? Maybe minutes, she whispered. They sweep the area fast. If they can't find the body, they'll call for a fire cleanse from orbit. Jack's mind raced. We need to move, now. He opened a trapdoor hidden under the rug, an old tunnel he built for emergencies. It's not long, but it'll get us into the hills. There's a cave up there. Tika didn't move. Tika, Jack said gently, you have to trust me. She looked into his eyes. Something in her chest squeezed tight. Then she nodded. Together they climbed down into the darkness. Behind them the hunter recovered. Its visor cracked, its voice distorted. It sent a silent signal to the ship above. Target resisting, execute cleanse protocol. High above the earth, a small orbiting ship charged its weapons. Deep in the hills, Jack and Tika reached the cave. It was damp, hidden by roots and stone. Jack lit a small torch. His hands were shaking. Tika looked out from the cave's entrance. We have maybe 10 minutes. Jack looked at her. Can we stop them? Tika thought for a moment, then opened a small panel on her belt. She pulled out a glowing cube, the emergency override crystal from her ship. If I can get close to the drone ship, I can plug this in. It'll send a code to shut down their attack order, but I have to be inside the ship. Jack didn't blink. Then we get you inside. Tika looked at him like he was insane. You'll walk into a war drone? For me? Jack gave a tired grin. You're not just some alien girl anymore, you're my friend. Her eyes glistened. No one from her world had ever risked their life for her. But this human? He already had. Twice. And he wasn't done yet. The story of her people. The cave was silent, except for their breath. Outside, the forest glowed with the orange light of search drones sweeping the sky. The hum of alien engines pulsed like a heartbeat. But inside the narrow rock shelter, Jack and Tika sat near the back, huddled beside a weak flame that danced on a stone torch. Tika was quiet. Too quiet. Her small hands trembled around the glowing override crystal in her lap. Her legs were pulled close to her chest, and her eyes, they stared at nothing. Jack gently nudged her with his elbow. You all right? She didn't answer right away. Then in a soft voice she said, Do you know why they sent hunters instead of rescuers? Jack didn't speak. He waited. Tika took a shaky breath. Because to them, I am already dead. She looked at the flame. Its light painted soft shadows across her blue skin. My people are not cruel by nature, but they are afraid. We Kirillans live on a dying world. Every ship we send is precious. Every crew member carries information, data, samples, knowledge that could save us. Her voice grew colder. But if a crew member is lost, and worse, if they fall into primitive hands, then they are considered compromised, tainted, disposable. Jack's jaw clenched. Even if they're alive? Especially if they're alive, she whispered. He looked at her for a long time. You don't deserve that. No one does, she said, her voice barely a breath. But that is our law. If I return, they will interrogate me, rip memories from my mind. They won't believe that a human helped me. They'll assume I was broken. Jack leaned back against the cave wall. That's insane. You're not broken. You're brave. You survived a crash. You fought off a hunter. You've got more guts than most people I know. Tika turned to him. Do you really think I'm brave? He nodded. Braver than I was when I left the war. She blinked, surprised. You left a war? Jack gave a bitter smile. Yeah, I was a soldier. Earth's final border conflict, a lot of shooting, a lot of orders. A lot of doing what we were told without asking why. He looked away. One day I got a command that didn't sit right. They wanted me to wipe out a whole camp of people, just because someone thought they were dangerous. No proof. No trial. Tika was silent. I refused. They called me a coward. I walked away from it all. He pointed around the cave. Ended up here, living alone, off the map. She tilted her head. Why? Jack smiled faintly. Because I thought I didn't belong anywhere anymore. They sat in silence for a moment, two outcasts from two different stars, hiding from the same enemy. Then Tika said, I was just a medical assistant, not a pilot, not a leader, just someone who gave others hope when they were sick. She looked down at the crystal in her lap. When the raiders hit our ship, everyone screamed. I tried to help. I tried to patch the wounds. I tried to keep someone alive. Tears filled her eyes. But I couldn't. Jack reached out. Slowly. Gently. He placed his hand on her tiny shoulder. She didn't pull away. I've held dying men in my arms. He said softly. Sometimes there's nothing you can do but stay with them. That's what you did. That matters. She sniffed. Wiped her face. He gave her a slight grin. Besides, I'd be dead in the woods by now, if you hadn't taught me what a Kirillin crystal override does. That made her laugh, a small one but real. You know, she said, I never thought I'd find someone on Earth who listened, someone who didn't treat me like a problem to solve. Jack chuckled. I never thought I'd be hiding in a cave with a glowing space girl, so I guess we're even. They sat side by side, not as soldier and alien, not as human and other, but As survivors' friends, Tika looked at the crystal one last time. I can't go back to them, even if I stop the drones. I don't think I belong there anymore. Jack didn't respond right away. Then he said, maybe. You belong here now. She looked up at him. For the first time in her life, Tika felt something strange. Not fear, not duty, a sense of home. Not on a map, not in the stars, but in a cabin, in a forest, with a strange, kind human who refused to let her die. The signal and the choice. The wind howled outside the cave as night fell over the forest. The stars blinked high above like silent watchers. Somewhere out there the drones were still searching, but they hadn't found them yet. Tika sat at the edge of the cave, holding the crystal device in her hands. Its soft blue glow pulsed like a heartbeat. Jack sat behind her, cleaning the burn, on his arm with a strip of cloth and muttering under his breath. Suddenly the crystal beeped. One sharp, high sound. Tika's eyes widened. It's found a signal. Jack stood quickly. A rescue ship? Tika nodded, stunned. It's from a Corellan patrol cruiser. A real one. Not a hunter unit. They're in orbit. My crystal sent out an auto beacon, and they picked it up. She tapped the crystal. A voice came through, garbled and static-filled, but familiar. Survivor Tika of Science Vessel 83 Zenith, respond. We have your location. Prepare for extraction. Full cleanse protocol begins in 30 minutes. Jack frowned. What's cleanse protocol? Tika's hands shook. It means they will destroy everything in this zone after rescue. Fire from orbit. Burn it all. Jack blinked. That includes my cabin. She nodded slowly. And you? Jack gave a cold laugh. Nice rescue plan. Tika's voice cracked. They think I've been contaminated. That Earth is toxic. They'll assume my mind was damaged by human contact. She turned to him. And they'll think, you tried to control me. They'll consider you a threat. They always do that with primitives who touch advanced tech. Jack raised his eyebrows. So I save your life and they kill me for it? Tika looked away. Jack stepped forward. Then you have to tell them the truth. You're alive because of me. I can try, she whispered. But they may not listen. Then, make them listen. Her fingers tightened around the crystal. She activated the communicator again and spoke, her voice calm but sharp. This is Medical Assistant Tika of the Zenith. I confirm survival. I am secure. Do not activate fire cleanse. A pause. Then a new voice replied. Survivor. Protocol demands safety purge. You were exposed to uncontrolled species. Memory integrity compromised. Tika's eyes narrowed. I was not compromised. I was rescued. By a human. He treated my wounds. Protected me. He did not harm me. Unverified. Stand by for judgment committee. Extraction in T-25 minutes. Jack paced the cave. Sounds like they don't believe you. Tika's hands shook. They won't stop the cleanse. They'll land, grab me, and destroy the rest. Jack sat beside her. Then you've got a choice to make. She looked at him. He didn't need to say it. If she got on that ship, he would be left behind. His cabin, gone, his life erased. Everything burned as if it never existed. And he would die in the fire for simply being kind. She stood suddenly. No. Jack blinked. No? I'm not going back. She walked to the far side of the cave and pulled the override crystal out of its core. The blinking light dimmed. The connection cut. The cave fell silent. Jack stared at her. You just cut off your own people? Tika turned around, her voice steady. I spent my whole life learning how to save lives. But my people don't save. They erase. They erase anyone who touches something different. She walked toward him, slow and confident. But you wrapped me in a jacket. You shared food with me. You carried me when I couldn't stand. You risked your life for a stranger. Her voice broke. And you never asked for anything in return. Jack swallowed hard. So, What now? Tika sat beside him and placed the deactivated crystal between them. I'll stay, she said, simply. Here. On Earth. Jack stared at her, stunned. You'd give up your whole life? She smiled softly. I already have. The old life. It died in the crash. She looked toward the cave mouth where the moonlight poured in. New one began when you didn't eat me. Jack laughed. I get that a lot. They both chuckled. Just two beings from opposite stars laughing in a cave on a forgotten planet. Then Jack grew serious. Tika, if they come back, really come back, you might still be in danger. She nodded. Then I'll be ready. And I won't be alone. Jack extended his hand. She took it. The stars above didn't blink any differently. But in that moment, a decision had been made that would ripple through galaxies. Akiralin chose humanity, and not just to survive, but to live. She stayed for him. The next morning, the forest was still. No more buzzing drones. No more flashing lights in the sky. Just birds singing. Leaves rustling. The smell of wet earth after rain. Tika stood on the porch of Jack's cabin, the one they had returned to before sunrise. Her tiny feet touched the wooden boards like she belonged there. Her glowing eyes stared up at the wide, endless sky. Somewhere above, the patrol ship was still watching. But it hadn't landed. Not yet. And maybe it wouldn't. Jack stepped out beside her, holding 2 mugs of something warm. You didn't sleep. She shook her head. Couldn't. He handed her the small cup. She held it with both hands, sipping carefully. You think they'll come? He asked quietly. Tika stared at the trees, then the sky. I think they already did. They saw I disconnected the beacon, that I made a choice. And now, they'll leave me behind. Jack looked at her with worry. You okay with that? She didn't answer immediately. She closed her eyes, took a breath, then nodded. My whole life, I was told I had to serve my people, that I was part of a bigger mission, that my life didn't belong to me. It belonged to the future of Corella. She looked up at him. But you taught me something no one ever did. Jack raised an eyebrow. What's that? That I'm allowed to want things for myself. He smiled softly. And what do you want? She turned toward the cabin. The handmade home, the small tools, the books she couldn't read yet, the little folded blanket he always offered her, and the human who risked death just to protect a scared alien girl who didn't trust him. I want this, she said. Not just the cabin, not just Earth. I want a life. Here, with you. Jack rubbed the back of his neck, looking away to hide the emotion in his eyes. Well, he said with a half-laugh, we'll have to figure out how to build a second bed. She chuckled. Or you can build me a high shelf. I don't take up much space. They stood together for a long time, letting the silence be their answer. Then Jack grew serious again. You know, others might come one day. Not like you. Not friendly. Some might come to finish what your people didn't. Tika nodded. Then we prepare. We learn. We build defenses. He looked at her with a hint of surprise. You really mean to stay, don't you? She stepped forward, standing, tall even if she barely reached his waist. I chose you over my species. That wasn't a small choice, Jack. It was everything. He met her gaze. You're brave, she smiled. You're kind. In my world, kindness is rarer than bravery. Jack looked out across the trees. You think your people will ever understand? Tika thought for a moment. Maybe not. But someday, someone like me will crash here again. And I hope by then they'll know this planet isn't what they think, that it's not full of monsters. She reached up and gently touched his hand. Because I met one. And he saved me. Jack didn't speak. He just looked at her hand holding his. Small, warm, alive. They turned back to the cabin together. Tika stepped inside and looked around with new eyes. This wasn't a shelter anymore. It was her home. She touched the shelf where the old communicator sat, now powered off. Her claws tapped the wood gently. She didn't need it anymore. Not right now. Instead, she grabbed a book Jack had been teaching her from. The letters still made little sense, but every day she learned a little more. Her voice was stronger now, her heart steadier. Later that day, she helped him plant seeds in the garden. She learned how to chop firewood. Badly. She laughed when Jack slipped in the mud. They shared food, cleaned the porch, argued about where to hang tools, and watched the stars at night. For a girl who once feared she would be eaten by a human, she now laughed freely at his jokes. For a man who thought he'd be alone forever, he now had a companion who refused to leave his side. In the dark sky above, a small, Kirellan ship drifted silently, watching Earth fade into the distance. Inside, a commander reviewed the logs. Subject chose exile. No force retrieval requested. Earth marked. Observation only. The screen went black. No further action was taken. And so, in the quiet woods of a forgotten planet, a tiny alien girl lived not as a prisoner, not as a survivor, but as someone finally free, not because of war, not because of science, but because one human, against all odds, chose to care. And she stayed. Not because she had to, but because he was worth staying for.